Hi everybody, Flow Session 22. I'm calling a simple truth because I want to bring into perspective, I guess you could call it, the heavenly body that we are, each individual, into this space of looking at the physical more as a heavenly aspect. And I feel it's necessary because we're not looking at it in that way. We don't have this higher truth in our consciousness supporting that heavenly aspect. And that is coming into view now because of the support of the heavens, the home, the light from which we reside before coming into form, is supporting us for our light vehicle to be less slowed down in the dense reality. So we're readjusting to the amazingness. So there is some shedding going on with that, as you can see. Some stuff will come to our attention and drop away because it's heavy. And we all know naturally that we don't want to be a part of something that feels heavy. So the difference between the light body and the denser body that we've been living is we're not going to focus on the heavy so much. We're not going to be drawn to it as though that old way of life where it feels so like connected. We're hearing something, it's a message directly to us. We'll embody it, we won't forget about it. We may even talk for weeks and days, like through the days, continue living what's going on the outside. That's had us in a slow down state of reality where any kind of progression, if we're looking to what's already happened in the field, we're not looking at a bigger aspect of how to change anything because our focus is on what's happened and happening. And then we can be manipulated into the feelings that everyone else feels, like let's blame or let's degrade, and then we'll get stuck in those energies, and like it just brings vibrations down more on the surface of the planet. So our very living, breathing atmosphere. Yeah, we can slow it down even more. We have done, but not so much as we think we have, because we have been assisted the whole time. Because this is meant to take place. So I've got a diagram. Flow Session 22, a simple truth. What do we do with our time here, our gift? So this diagram started off with the circle, the sphere, essentially, with a little person facing sideways, like facing, that's his front there. And with the change in the dimensions that we're living now, because we're living in the higher dimension. Our embodiment here comes from our spiritual self into the dense form. So the spiritual self is the higher self, and part of that joins this reality. So we are never not connected to our spiritual self, which is why, like, the human path can be quite weird with embracing something that they cannot see but they are a part of. So we have a higher self, which is the connection to the heavens, because that's why we're here. We have this stream and we've arrived in denser formation dimension. So the whole time the person has that ongoing connection. These waves here are a representation of spirit. So now the spirit is on planet Earth and has a body and is never not connected to its higher self, which is the higher resonance from which we come. This stream of light here again, heavenly wave formation before choosing to come and embody. So now we'll go here to this part. So I've highlighted that the person, we can be aware on our spiritual path probably about a sixth of the time that the higher self will give you signs like you feel good. This is a higher resonance. This is what you're capable of majority of the time on the planet, unless distracted with the outside and people occupying lower vibrations. So it looks like that to me initially, but we are wholly the embodiment of spirit. So you have this connection that you're aware of there. But the way we've been living is ego can aim to dominate higher self, what we have been living through. And I've put the ego part here on the sphere because it's what we see, and it's what we ground, what we have been, like what we've been experiencing is mainly from the two eyes and our ego representation. So our person and its personality to communicate in the world. But there's also the soul aspect, which we'll get to. So you got to have the ego. But we've been operating more from that in a dominating way that this is all there is and that is life. So, but you still have this higher self connection, and we're not always aware of this. We probably won't even think of it as a higher self. We'll just think of it as, yeah, I feel good sometimes. And so we need the ego. There's nothing bad about that, right? It's when the ego is completely relied upon as though there is nothing else. So we go in and out of this awareness. But what's happening now is the fact that we are Holy Spirit, and we're becoming and supported with this, because the old energies have to go. Like the old ways of being and patterns and things where we're just so directing our whole being in lower and lower states of resonance, when the truth is, you know, we're not going to be here forever. We've come from a place of high resonance. And the universe and universes are expanding, hence why we are. And vice versa. The whole point is for the expansion into betterment, but to know what doesn't serve that helps us to know what does serve that. So that's why it's a crazy journey to come to Earth, because essentially the higher self is your outlet. Your spirit is your outlet in body form that is essentially like a container of your soul coming through. So the eternal, let's say library, because that's what the Akashic Records is. Everything that's ever happened, past, present, and what, you know, it's creating beyond what we can see, like the energy field. So knowing this part is what has needed our focus if we wanted to shift the evolution on the planet into the more higher states of being. But we haven't been focused on that. We have been going along in a way that is kind of like this angle. So you can see how the yin and yang symbolism comes into play. I'll just pop that in. Because it's true. We're here on an ongoing balance of contrast that we can control in ourselves. We're not meant to look outside of ourselves to rearrange out there. We're meant to be doing this for ourselves and bringing this whole higher awareness, which is what's happening now. We'll feel like we're walking more in, and I don't mean literal, but yes as well, that you'll be walking more in a higher awareness state because of the wholeness journey and the heavens assisting us. So instead of us just having like a piece of the pie of our wholeness, we're naturally expanding into that because that's what's being supported now. So the rest of this diagram says, our awareness of whole picture is allowed to vibrate one with the whole truth. Now, to me, that spells health. That's your health. Like, when we're not avoiding these little truths that we might pick up along the way, like we have a higher self, we do come from outside of this planet, we will experience other things again. We do not just disintegrate. But the dense formation does. So, so what I just said is our awareness of whole picture is allowed to vibrate one with the whole truth. Okay, that's a given. That's where we're heading. We are allowing ourselves, we're opening up to higher truths, we're not giving into ego, we don't want to live through the same stuff, we're letting go of old patterns, and we've got to watch those patterns in ourselves because that's the whole journey of this interplay with balance. That's how it grows. Where did I go to from that? That's how we grow, and growing is living the soul. So when we're aware of our higher self, we operate more in that, then we're bringing through naturally, we're in a higher state of being, our soul path. Now, higher state of being does not mean someone walks around with a smile planted on their face 24/7. It just means you're free. which is why my new shirt, Freedom, was very relevant for this talk. So truth is wholeness, wholeness is truth. This is truth awareness. Now, when we're doing life, not forgetting this, then the earth is going to assist us more in a way that there's a free flow removal of lower vibes before anything attaches like it used to. So that's the main point I wanted to get to, because I know if you've watched anything I've recorded before, I talk about this with higher resonance, lower resonance, and you're attracting from that. What you're giving out, that's your life coming back. So you just catch yourself. So I'm relating it to the higher self now, because it's playing more of a part in the vibrational shift on the planet. And that is like where we're heading and becoming whole in knowing that. So the new souls coming on the planet will come in knowing this more and more. They'll be vibrating more to not the past the way we've been operating. So truth is wholeness, wholeness is truth. And avoiding this larger picture, the understanding of it, just in the slightest, reminding yourself of it, right? That's all you have to do. But if it's being avoided, then it doesn't feel whole. So that's where you can get the sign, something's got to go. And that's going to be sped up more in the future, which is why if someone is confronting what doesn't make them feel whole, they're noticing it in environments or relationships, situations, and they're looking at that, I don't feel whole here, then that's good. That's probably got to change, and you give attention to it, to changing, so that you can, raise your vibration. Once that starts to speed up, where the person is cleaning and clearing out, that's when you're more in alignment with like the higher heavens, because we are heaven, the higher heavens through us. This alignment I'll say it like this. So as we raise our vibration, it's kind of like climbing a ladder, right? So if you get to a certain height on the ladder, or you could think of it as a building, many different metaphors of truth, your resonance is going to naturally stay there, and you're not going to feel whole if you lower it. So anyway, as someone does that, there's a free flow in alignment where we're going to speed up, which is amazing to hear. We're not going to have to deal with so much that we dealt with before, as in the slowed down stickiness of vibrations. That's where a lot of us have been taking it when we're doing the spiritual path of, this doesn't feel true to me, it's got to go. And you walk on bravely with the changes. knowing you're not here to suffer. So it's not, I'm letting go of something that, I feel serves me. We're actually letting go of something that probably needs to shed, even though the human doesn't fully understand and would like it to just not change too much. Sometimes we have big changes, sometimes we have little changes that feel so big. It's all different for all of us. But the main point is we've all been doing one way or another, releasing as best we can what truly doesn't feel right to our energy field. Because in that, we naturally raise to the truth. So in the raising to the truth, you don't go back down the steps into the past, because as you raise to the truth, you're also clearing out what was there. Well, anyway, that naturally happens being on a planet, because Mother Earth is doing that whether you acknowledge it or not. She is assisting us more than we know. When we sleep and our bodies are resting, we're not in like any kind of fight or flight about life, unless we've let that, disrupt our sleep. She is helping us clear. And then here we are going from 3, 4 to 5 light dimensions, doing that consciously. Mother Earth, because where does it go? The energy is dissipating. We transmute, and there's a recalibration with the planet and our environments, which is why we're doing it as well. So we're all, spherical and energetic beings traveling this together. So back to, what do we do with our time here, our gift? Because if we could just pause in that for a moment. We can pause any time we want in that truth. In that consciousness of where we're at, which needs to happen more often than not. Why are we doing something? And what does it serve? And then you sort of look at the whole of life in that way. Why am I doing this? What does it serve? How does it feel? And I'll always go back to the centering of how does it feel? Because we're pretty much vibrationary, feeling beings. Because how am I describing the truth? Higher vibrations and lower vibrations. The interplay of everything, the contrast. However you want to look at the opposites and the interplay of all of us. And bring it back to a whole perspective. So you could actually, it pays to take the time to have a wider view. So come out and look and feel, heart, third eye, being, but take a look from the outside to the whole view of everyone doing this. Because in that space and place of doing that, you're not just in your own ego. You're taking a look at the whole picture of what you're a part of. And you can sit in that to get a good idea of this understanding of this simple truth. You know, what are we doing with our time here? Our gift. Because, and I wrote that sentence because we are given this opportunity for a temporary, you know, time period. It's not as detrimental as we think, you know, arriving and leaving the planet, because we're eternal, and we need to remind ourselves of that. So each person comes to that understanding in different ways, which is why I was saying, if you can take time out to look at the whole picture of everyone is doing this, and you sit back not attached through anything, then you're sitting in a space and place where you're feeling freer and freer and freer, and that's raising your vibration, and then we receive more as well. Now, what do we receive? We receive what's in alignment for our souls at that time. So let's say in that moment, because it's not, you know, time. In that moment of this journey moment, the now. Yes. So when we're more preoccupied with this part of life, which is where we're coming from, we don't have the rising into the higher vibrations, and we're feeling beings, so that's how we know the difference. And so the expansion of that awareness, that truth, is where we get helped more and more through the spiritual aspect of the wider whole, that the humans are here doing this with one another and with themselves. They must concentrate on what they're doing with their gift. You know, you have a physical body to take care of, you have emotions to balance, you have a mind not to get too carried away or blocked or dense down into, you know, life is no good, or let's concentrate on lower. This is our gift to master ourselves and assist everyone from mastering ourselves. That's the way it assists. Naturally drawn to where your light will be called. Whereas over this side of things, if we're only concentrating on what's in front of us and how we present or how the world is showing us, we're going to get caught up in all sorts of mind, emotion, games into play, physical ailments, you know, slowed down reality. Whereas we're not meant to take that so seriously. We're meant to be mastering our fields, our gift here, into the higher states of being. So we have to distract away from the stimulus world a bit more often and get in touch with this reality. So that when we do step out, we're not drawn back into the same. You know, you've got this higher, I will say higher fire that is burning, and that's why it doesn't feel right when we are pulled down into other things. So that fire is our divine flame, our spirit flame. 30 minutes. Okay. Yeah, so I'll just finish by reminding you and saying that as we do this, this is where we feel more of a natural flow to give ourselves in directions we know we'll enjoy, because we're here to be in the higher states more than the lower. But there'll always be contrast. It just won't be so dense and horrible, which is where density can take us. But it is just not resonant to spirit. Higher, lighter, sharing, giving, and then the journey becomes more, not so much focused on the outside, but bettering ourselves as a part of the whole doing that, like, because we don't have the density getting in the way of each of us, like frazzling connections that distract from wholeness. Yeah. I just love the speed up of this. That we can't necessarily see right, you know, in front of our eyes, but we feel it. And the speed of the shift and lift, which means just more in alignment is just less slowed down, bogged reality. It's just a crisp flow, and I'm forever thankful for. Okay, I hope that helped everyone. I know it would be of something, some kind of support in your growth. Bye for now.